I'm Lila, and these are the 73 books I read in 2025. I am refilming this video because I was rambling way too much and overly explaining everything, so we're just going to jump right in to prevent me from doing that. I'm going to try to be as concise as possible with all these reviews, and I hope you enjoy them. This is my favorite video to film. It was fun when I filmed it the first time, and now I'm here doing it again because I really want it to turn out good for you guys. So I'm gonna stop rambling because that's literally why I'm refilming this video, and we'll just get into the books. First up, we have Winter by Marissa Meyer. I rated this book 5 stars. This is technically the last book in the Lunar Chronicles series. There's some additional books, but this is technically the last one. And I thought this was a great conclusion to the series. I think it wrapped up everything nicely. There were a few slower parts. This is a longer book, so some of the parts felt slower, but overall, great conclusion to the story, and I love the characters that this book follows. Definitely recommend this book and the Lunar Chronicles. Don't read them out of order. Read the whole Lunar Chronicles, because it's just so good. Next up in January, we have Ferris by Marissa Meyer. This is also part of the Lunar Chronicles, but you don't have to read it. It's a short story of the villain's past, like her origin story, and I rated it 3.5 stars. I recommend it if you're a big fan of the Lunar Chronicles, but if you weren't, I guess I don't really recommend it. It's not a sob story to like make you sympathize for the villain, which I personally liked because she's so despicable, and she still is in this book. Like, I still hated her, but it was interesting to see her thought process and how she thought she was being the hero and how she would like justify her like horrendous actions. So, interesting read. Recommend if you're a big fan of the Lunar Chronicles. Also in January, I read The Hunger Games for the very first time, and it was 5 stars. I'm absolutely obsessed with this series. It's a big part of my personality, and I absolutely love it. There's not much I can tell you about this book that you haven't heard 100 times. So I'm just going to tell you that I'm absolutely obsessed with it, and if you haven't read it, you absolutely have to. And it's the best dystopian book out there, really. So 100% recommend. Right after that, I read Catching Fire. This is also 5 stars, but I loved it even more than the first book. Like I already said, highly recommend. Then in the middle of reading the Hunger Games trilogy, I had to read To Kill a Mockingbird for school, and I'm not a huge fan. I rated it 2.5 stars. The characters don't really stand out to me, and the way the plot was structured was weird. It was like we were following these 2 kids just living their lives, and then all of a sudden there's this huge trial that just felt like a different book, honestly, and then at the end we go back to the kids and basically just pick up the plot that we were following at the beginning. Maybe I'm just not smart enough to understand this book, but my experience with it was not very good. I just didn't enjoy it very much. To the average person, I don't really recommend this book, and I didn't really think it was that good. Then, thank goodness, I got to read Mockingjay, and it was so beautiful, honestly. I rated this one 5 stars as well. It is my least favorite in the series because there are some slower parts, but it was still amazing, honestly. It was still amazing. It was so bittersweet of an ending. I don't even know what I was feeling. I was feeling something, and it was a very strong emotion because it made me cry. So yeah, highly recommend this trilogy, and I want more, honestly. I would take a whole nother book that takes place after this one because I'll never be over it, honestly. Then the last book I read in January is On the Fence by Casey West. You're going to be seeing her a lot more in this video, trust me. Anyway, this book I rated 5 stars initially. Looking back now, it's more of a 4 stars because there's some stuff that's just kind of stereotypical in here. This main girl is the only girl in her family. She has 3 brothers. Her character felt very stereotypical for what it's like to be the only girl. I'm the only girl besides my mom, and she wasn't relatable at all. Maybe other people relate to her. I personally didn't. So that's why I lowered it down to more of a 4 star, but it was still great. It's so cute. It's so fun. It's kind of sad too because her mom passed away, and it's just like her dealing with that grief and stuff. But it's also a really cute romance. It's really sweet. I just love Casey West, okay? Casey West's books aren't like the most amazing quality. They're just fun, light, easy reads that I read in between heavier books. and they're a fun time. I really love them. Objectively, they're not that amazing. Like, they're nothing, like, super special, but they have such a special place in my heart, and I'm obsessed with them. So, I recommend it if you want a cute, light, easy, fun read that's like eating ice cream. Then for February, the first book I read was By Your Side by Casey West. Told you she would be back. Didn't think it'd be that soon, did you? Maybe you did. I don't know. Anyway, I rated this one 4 stars. Objectively, I think this one is better. Though I enjoyed the other one more, I think this one's actually better. It's just a fun read. They're so fun and cute. Her books kind of follow the same formula romance-wise. The plots are different, but the romance is basically the same, and I love it pretty much every time. So, this one, 2 people get stuck in a library together for the weekend, and it was just so fun and cute and just amazing, honestly. Like, it's just such a fun little light read. Then I read Life by Rebecca something. I rated this one 4 stars. This is a dystopian book where the economy crashes and basically no one has any money. Therefore, they can't pay to live in their houses, and if you can't pay to live in your house, they round you up and take you to a camp. The main character we're following, she is squatting in her old house with her younger siblings, trying to avoid getting caught by the law enforcement people. Her whole neighborhood is full of people squatting in their old houses, and we're just following them trying to live their lives and survive. I recommend looking what this book is about because it's been a while since I read it, and I don't think I did that summarization of the plot justice, but it's such an interesting dystopian book. I think it's one of the most unique ones out there. I mean, besides like The Hunger Games, you know, that was like the first, the best. Anyway, this is a really good dystopian book. It's very unique, and I highly recommend it if you love dystopian. Then a not very good book was The Betrothed by Kiara Cass. I read the selection the year before, and I loved it. I mean, I have mixed feelings on it, but we're not even going to get into all of that. I was excited to read this because I love the selection, and I was very disappointed. I rated this book 2 stars. It felt like we were just thrown into the middle of a series in the sense that we're not introduced to anyone. We're just supposed to know what is going on in this girl's life, who she is as a person, who all the other characters are as a person. We're just supposed to know that stuff going in. There's no explanation for anything, which is unfortunate because the characters are so dry and they just felt undeveloped and like they had no personality. So not being told who they are made it really hard to know them because there's nothing to know, honestly. There's a love triangle in here with a king who's notorious for being a player and running through women super fast, but this girl thinks that it's going to be different with her, that it's just going to be different. I'll let you guess how that goes. And then this other guy who she talked to like twice, and we know nothing about him, basically. So, it was a terrible love triangle. It was terrible characters. I guess I like who she ended up with better, but like, not really, because it was just a mess, and it was not a good love triangle. There's a tragedy that happens, like, maybe 3/4 of the way through this book, and it was super shocking. If this book would have been written well, like if the characters were good, it would have been great. But because the characters were so underdeveloped, I didn't care about what happened to them at all. It had no emotional impact on me because of the characters being void of personality. I cried like 2 tears during one scene after the big tragedy, but like, it was not well written at all. And I simply don't recommend this book, especially if you're a Kiara Cass fan. If you love the selection or maybe some of her other books, I think you're going to be disappointed with this one, honestly. It's just not very good. Then we have Reverence. This is also a super unique dystopian book. I rated it 4 stars. It's also a Christian dystopian. It has faith content in it, which I thought was done well. So if you want a Christian dystopian, I know there's not a whole lot of those out there. I recommend this one because it was really good. Here is the summary of this book. I have tried to explain it so many times. I just don't do it justice, honestly, because it's such a unique setup for this world and this plot. So please read that because I highly recommend this book. It's so unique. It's so well done. I really need to read the sequel. I don't know why I haven't yet. And I recommend it if you're a dystopian fan, especially if you're a Christian dystopian fan. Then after that, I read Liberty, which is the second book in the Logan Pond series. The first book is Life. I forgot to mention the name of this trilogy, but this is the second book after Life, and I don't really have much else to say. I like the direction the plot went in. This is also 4 stars. I kind of see these books all as one book. Like, I don't know when Life ends and Liberty begins, but I know that I really enjoyed this trilogy, and like I already said, I highly recommend it. I will say our love interest guy is so mean in the first book. I forgot to mention that when I was talking about the first book. He is so mean, and I hated him. But just hold on. Like, just be patient, okay? Wait till, like, the second book, and it gets a whole lot better, okay? Then we have Love, Life, and the List by Casey West, and this is one of her books that I didn't really like. Honestly, it's my least favorite out of her books. The plot line that we're following doesn't really make any sense. This girl's an artist. She's told that her art doesn't have enough heart and soul, so she has to go get some life experience by making a list of things to do over the summer, which is like face a fear, learn a stranger's story, fall in love, and the list is longer, but those are just some examples that I can remember, and I don't think that list could give you a whole lot of life experience, honestly. I'm not an artist either, so I don't know if art can lack heart and soul, but I just didn't really get that. Like, I don't know. I didn't understand that part, and I hated the romance, okay? They're best friends. The guy was not a good best friend. What was his name? I don't even remember. I deleted him from my mind because I hated him. He did not treat this girl good. I mean, he wasn't, like, abusive or anything, but he could have been a lot nicer to her. He was just a very bad friend. And the romance was even worse than their friendship. It was just, I didn't like it. It still had its fun moments, it still had its cute moments, but out of all of Casey West's books, this is my least favorite, and I don't really recommend it. 2 stars. Then The Pursuit, which is the last book in the Logan Pond trilogy. I have nothing else to say other than I liked how this series was, like, wrapped up with this last book. I think it was a good conclusion to the trilogy. 4 stars. I liked it a lot. Lastly, in February, I listened to an audiobook for Animal Farm. The year before, I had to read this book for school, and I didn't really like it. But this time around, it was actually really good. I rated it 4 stars. And I recommend it if you just want a quick read that's interesting. The symbolism, I think it's representing like communism and other stuff like that. When I re-listened to this, I was not trying to learn anything. I learned stuff about it in school, but it's been a while, so I'm not even going to try to describe to you what the message this book is trying to give because I don't really know. But what I was trying to say before I started rambling is that if you want to read this book just for fun, I recommend it. And if you want to read this book to like study it and the symbolisms and the message it's trying to give, I recommend it too because I think it's good for both of those purposes. I read it for fun and I thought it was really good. Then in March, the first book I read was Because You're Mine by Colleen Coble. I don't know what this book falls into, like what genre it falls into. It's just like a mystery, basically. And I can't find anything else like it, so I don't even know what this is, but it was a lot of fun. I rated it 4 stars. We're following a girl whose husband dies. She's pregnant. She is an Irish citizen, and her father-in-law wants custody of her baby, and in order to keep her baby, I don't really remember how all that worked, but in order to keep her baby and stay in America, she marries her band's manager because she's in a band after her husband dies. It's not a whole lot after her husband dies. She doesn't want to, but she wants to keep her baby, which is, reasonable. I would not want my child taken by my father-in-law either, though I have neither of those things. Anyway, that's not important. Things start getting really sus with this guy. He seemed very nice, but some suspicious things go down in his creepy manor that she went to live with him in. Some accidents start happening that threaten her life and her babies, and we're basically just following that mystery. I wish I could describe it more, but it kind of turns into spoilers if I do. Just know that this was a really good mystery in my opinion. I don't think it would happen in real life, especially this one plot twist. It's just there's no way that that plot twist would happen in real life. There would have been some sort of measures put in place that that wouldn't happen. But I didn't even care because it was just a fun read. It was just an entertaining read. Kind of spooky, but it is a Christian book. I would probably look up the content of this book just because there's some heavier things. I don't recommend it to young readers. Not for the faint of heart. I don't think this book is for everyone, but if it sounds like your thing, I recommend it. I rated it 4 stars. It was good. It was a fun time. Then Caraval. I listened to the audiobook for this. I rated it 4 stars. This book is like a fever dream, but in the best way possible. We're following a girl. This is the very watered down version of what happens, but we're following a girl who ends up playing in this game called Caraval, or Caraval, however you want to say it. Where she's told it's just a game, but some things start happening that she's like, is this really a game? Is this really fake? Are these people just actors in this game, or is all of this real? And we're following her trying to find her missing sister. That's like the goal for this game. It's different every year, but this year, if you find Donatella, who is Scarlet's sister, you win the game. I didn't do the plot of this book justice. Look what it's about. But it was a fun time. This book felt kind of like addictive. It was just so gripping, and I was very on the edge of my seat and excited to find out what was actually happening, like if the game was real and if it wasn't, and like where is Donatella. It was super entertaining. The world, like Caraval, is so beautifully written. I love Stephanie Garber's writing style. It just felt so whimsical and magical in a good way. I'm not a huge fan of magic in books, but I think it was done well in this first book. I would recommend this book because it's quite good. There's a few content warnings that I was not crazy about in the romance aspect. It's still no spice, but it was just kind of like, no, that's like the kind, yeah, I didn't really like that. I really have a way with words, don't I? As I was saying, I would recommend this book overall if it weren't for the direction that this series takes, and I'll just get to that. My rabbit's so loud, I'm sorry if you can hear her. So yeah, next up, Legendary. This book is 3 stars. I didn't like it nearly as much. We're following Donatella in this book, and she is just the worst, honestly. She's so annoying. She's not very smart, and I really hate the way she views men and relationships and just all of that. I hate her morals, personally, and I hate her love interest morals. The first time you see the two of them together, I was like, oh, this is how it's gonna go. This is how you two are, and I already hate y'all. That's being a little harsh, but not really, because I genuinely don't like either of them. So this plot was still good, but Caraval didn't feel the same. Like the game Caraval, it didn't feel the same because of the stuff we find out in the previous book. And yeah, the romance just took a direction with Donatella and her guy that I didn't like. Still no spice, but like, it just wasn't preferable. And just not my thing, you know, just not my thing with this book. I did, however, still read finale because I thought maybe it will get better, and it didn't. It was 2 stars. Yeah, 2 stars. The plot just took such a bad direction in this book. We're not actually playing Caraval in this book. It goes in like a different direction. There's like a new magic system introduced, and I didn't like that with like, how can I describe this so that's not a spoiler? So there's these like fates or something that were kind of introduced to in the previous book, but they're really present in this book, and I just really didn't like them, you know, I really hated them. This series goes in a direction that's not great. It starts off good and it just goes downhill, magic, system-wise, world building wise, character wise, romance wise, basically just every aspect of this book. It really just went downhill. It was still entertaining at times, but like, I just don't recommend it, and I don't really want to reread it. If I ever reread it, It'll just be the first book, or I'll reread them to make content reviews. Also, ignore my 3-foot-tall bingo stuffed animal back there that's just staring into your soul. Heartless by Marissa Meyer. This is a Queen of Hearts origin story. This is not in the Lunar Chronicles, though it is by the same author. This is just a standalone, and I rated it 4 stars. I thought it was really good. I do have a few complaints, though. I'll start with the things I liked first. I love the world this is set in. Wonderland. I love Marissa Meyer's interpretation of it. It just felt so whimsical and fun, and I just love it. It's one of my favorite worlds. I liked the plot twist at the end. There's this big sad thing that happens, and it was sad. I didn't cry, but it was sad, and I think it was well written. I liked the part after the big tragedy, like the actual ending of this book. I thought was well done for like a Queen of Hearts origin story. I think it was done well. Now the things I didn't like, the romance wasn't my favorite. I didn't think they knew each other long enough. Also, our main girl, Catherine, she was just kind of boring. Not necessarily in a bad way, she just was kind of plain in her personality. So, also, the guy, the love interest, I don't really get the hype behind him. He's just not my favorite. I mean, he was okay. And it's also slower. The first half of this book is slower, but the ending made it worth it, honestly. So I recommend this book overall. Just know it's a little bit slower and stuff. And then, oh wow, we're all surprised. It's another Casey West book, The Distance Between Us this time. And this was fun. I don't really have a whole lot to say about it. Some of it just felt a little bit unrealistic. I rated it 4 stars. It was a fun time. Like I said, little unrealistic, but overall, it was a lot of fun, and I recommend it if you just want a fun, cute little rom-com. Nah, it's not really a rom-com. Maybe it's just a romance. I don't really know what these count as, but they're a lot of fun. They're really cute. I recommend. Then we have Once Upon a Broken Heart. This is the spin-off series for Caraval, and I think I do like it better, but like it's still not really, it's not really a favorite. 3 stars. It has a really good plot, and I love the world building. Stephanie Garber's writing style, for just the way she writes everything, and the world, the clothes people would wear, just everything about her writing is beautiful. But the main thing I didn't like is there's some content like in the romance, kind of romance. I didn't find it romantic, but like it's technically romance. Stuff in that category, I was just like, this is kind of icky, this is kind of gross. I just didn't really like any of that, you know? It felt like I was interrupting something at times. No spice, but like, it just didn't live up to the standard that I have in my head for clean, you know? If you want to know more about that content, look at my Goodreads review. I recommend looking at that before you read it, not necessarily because I want you to read my review, I mean I kind of do, but because I just want you to know what you're getting into before you read this series. I can't, in good conscience, recommend it just because of the content, though I did enjoy it. It has a really good plot. I love the plot. I'm here for the plot. I just can't recommend it in good conscience because of the content. Right after that, I listened to The Ballad of Never After. This is my favorite in the series. In my mind, it's like a 4-star, but I lowered it down to 3.5 just because of the content. The plot is at its peak in this book, but it also has the most, like, not great content in it, you know? Like, the stuff that I wasn't crazy about in the first book was kind of worse in this one. So, though it is my favorite in the series because of the plot, I still don't really love it. You know, I still just don't really recommend it. It was a good time overall, but still not the best. Also, I hate the main guy. I've read all the books, okay? He's had all the character development he's gonna have. I hate him. I hate him passionately. I don't even want to hear you defending him because I just hated him. Then A Curse for True Love, which is the final book in this trilogy. I don't remember this one as well, but I know that I didn't really love it. This one I rated 2 stars. The plot went so downhill. It just felt so thrown together. I think Stephanie Garber kind of like wrote herself into a corner and didn't really know how to wrap this story up. I just hated the direction that the plot took. I don't think it's a good conclusion to this series. I feel like there's some unanswered questions that I have, and Overall, I just don't recommend this trilogy because while the first two books were a fun time, this is a terrible conclusion and there's content that's not good, so I just don't really recommend this series. Then things pick up because I read Sunrise on the Reaping when it came out, and yeah, it was fantastic, it was marvelous, it was amazing. I rated it 5 stars, obviously, because it was basically perfect. I have like a few minor complaints, but it was still like amazing. I love seeing Haymitch's story, made me cry. Maybe more than once. I don't remember how many times I cried. But it was very sad and I like sobbed. So if you're a Hunger Games fan, if you read the original trilogy and loved it, even if you didn't, literally just still read this book because it was fantastic and it was amazing and I loved it. Then P.S. I Like You, which is another Casey West book. I rated this one 4 stars. It has a really fun and cute premise. There was a lot of cute moments. I'm not a huge fan of the romance, like how it starts out. In the end, it worked out good, but like the beginning of the romance, it wasn't really my favorite. Try not to spoil it. It's like an enemies to lovers situation, and if enemies to lovers isn't your thing, I don't recommend this. It's not really my thing in contemporary books, and this is a contemporary book. So, not my absolute favorite of hers, but still a fun time, still a cute time. I still enjoyed it. If you love enemies to lovers, I recommend this one. Then I read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I technically listened to the audiobook. I don't remember a whole lot. I rated it 4 stars. It was a fun time. That's really all I have to say. Wonderland, like I said, is a fun world. I kind of liked it in Heartless better. Don't really know why, but just a fun time. If you just want a fun, short read, if you're younger, I think Alice in Wonderland is fun. Then we are in April, and I only read 4 books. The first one is The Summer of the Summoned Sword. This is a fairy tale retelling. I don't remember what fairy tale it's a retelling of. It's a Christian fantasy book, and I thought it was good. It was a fun time. I rated it 4 stars, but I don't really think about it a whole lot. It doesn't really stand out a whole lot, you know, but it was still a fun time, and if you're into like Christian fantasy, especially fairy tale retellings, I recommend it. It was fun, but there's not a whole lot I have to say about it. Then we have The Princess Test. I remember nothing about this book. I'm gonna assume it was a princess and the P retelling because that's like a test for princesses or something. I just don't remember because it didn't stand out at all. I rated this one 3 stars. I remember it being a fun time, but I remember it not being amazing, and obviously it wasn't very amazing because I don't remember it, so I don't know if I recommend it or not, but I'm going with probably not because it wasn't memorable. Then Straw into Gold. This is a Rumpelstiltskin retelling. I don't know why I did so many fairy tale retellings, but that's what this is, where the girl is Rumpelstiltskin. And it's so short. It's only like 40 pages or something, maybe 50, and there was just not enough time to get to know the characters, and if you don't like the characters, the book's not going to be great, in my opinion, at least like in my experience, and the plot wasn't super good. The romance wasn't good. It just felt very, like, shallow, you know. I have a review on Goodreads if you want to hear more. Just content I wasn't a huge fan of, and it was just, I don't have anything positive to say about this book, so I'm just going to cut myself off there and say I don't recommend it, and it was 1 star. Then in May, I read Divergent. This book was a mess. I rated it 3 stars. It was still a fun time, but I don't really have that much positive to say about it other than it was entertaining. You know, if you want to read a dystopian book, because that's what this is, I think there are better options out there. I don't like Triss. Her only personality trait was that she was very small. Like, all there was to say about her was that she was so tiny. Her head was to the height of his elbow. She was 3 feet tall. Like, that's pretty much all there was to say about her. I think her romance was toxic. The guy was toxic, honestly. The dystopian world that this is set in is just kind of confusing. It doesn't really make any sense to me. Maybe it makes sense in the rest of the trilogy, but this book was just not it for me. Still entertaining, but if you want a dystopian, there are definitely better options out there. Then Ice Mermaid. This is like a Little Mermaid retelling where a mermaid sees the Titanic sinking and saves this dude. It's only like 70 pages or something, and with most short books, not enough time to get to know the characters. The plot is cool, but if it would have been longer, I think it would have worked a lot better. 2 stars, not a lot to say about it, don't really recommend it. I also listened to Alice in Wonderland Through the Looking Glass. I actually read this in April, so sorry about that. This is a collection of both of them, and I rated it 3 stars. I didn't like it as good as the first book, but I don't really remember anything other than that. If you read the first one, just go ahead and read the second one because it was a fun time, if I remember correctly, but nothing like amazing. Then for school, I read the Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis was such a good author. Honestly, he was a master at his trade, and he's just one of the most talented authors out there. He just has such a way with words. That being said, some of the topics that were covered in this book just weren't super relatable, just because it's written in a very different time period. It's set in like World War II, and we're following a soldier there. I am not a male soldier in World War II, so I didn't really relate to like all of his struggles. So that's why it's a 4-star and not a 5-star, but I think it had some good insight into like just life, like a lot of aspects of life and like spiritual warfare. It had good insight and I recommend it, but not always super relatable. Last book in May is A Wrinkle in Time. This was one of my favorite books when I was like 12 or something, so I reread it. This time around it was 4 stars. It's still a really good and fun book. I like the like fantasy aspects of it. I don't know if this is technically a fantasy book, but it kind of feels like it at times, so I'm going with it's a fantasy book. And I liked it. It's just a fun read, honestly. That's all I have to say. It's just a fun read, and if you're like a younger reader, like 12, I recommend this book. Or maybe if you're not, maybe if this book just sounds interesting to you, read it even if you're not 12. Then in June, I listened to the audiobooks for the Inheritance Games trilogy. This book and the second book are 4 stars. I read this one and then the second one, so I'm just going to talk about them both at the same time. I remember nothing, okay? I remember nothing about this plot. I remember my feelings about it, but I don't remember what happens. I just know that Avery, our main girl, is in this random guy who she's never met in her life's will. She inherits a lot of money, but she has to live in the mansion for a year with his grandsons before she can inherit, and we're just following them, figuring out the mystery of why Tobias Hawthorne chose Avery to be in his will and inherit everything. I don't remember the reason. I don't remember why he chose her. I forget audiobooks so easily, and I don't remember this, which is bad for you if you wanted to know about this book, but good for me if I ever want to reread it, and it'll be like reading it for the first time. So, the first and second book, I remember the plot being really good. I remember Grayson is my favorite out of everyone in these books. I just need him to be happy. Anyway, that's basically what I remember. I remember the plot was very entertaining and very fun. That's all I know. That's all I know for these first 2 books. I have a content review for The Hawthorne Legacy, which is the second book. I don't know why I just did one for that book, but if you want to know about the content in this series, I have that review. I recommend looking at it because I remember some things that I disagreed with as a Christian that are in these books. So I don't know if I recommend them or not because I don't really remember anything, but look at the content before you decide for yourself if you're going to read them. Then, before I finished the trilogy, I read Until We All Share Joy. Sorry, my brain just glitched. Until We All Share Joy by Heather Wood. This is a very short Christmas novella. It's technically like 2.5 in a series, but I haven't read the series. I just read this one, and it was a fun time. It was a cute time. It was just a cute little Christmas book set in 1867. It's just a fun time, honestly. It was just a fun, cute little Christmas romance, and I recommend it for Christmas time. I read it in June, but Christmas, read it then. Then The Final Gambit, which is the last book in the Inheritance Games series. I rated this 2 stars. I don't really remember what happens, but I remember I hated the way, okay, I do kind of remember what happens. And I know that I hated the way that this series wrapped up. It was a bad conclusion to the series. I didn't like what happened to this one character. It just felt so unnecessary. I don't know why he made a choice that he did. I just was like, this didn't have to happen. Wasn't there some way to... It just wasn't a good conclusion to the series, so just know that. Then Chemistry of a Kiss, I rated it 2.75 stars, which is a weird rating. I don't know why I did that, but it was like a Casey West book, but not as good. Super unrealistic. There was the miscommunication trope, which is the bane of my existence. I hate it passionately, and it was ridiculous in this book. It had its cute moments, but overall I don't recommend it because it was just kind of ridiculous. Then To Con a Gentleman by Sarah Adams. This is a historical rom-com, and let me tell you, it was so good. I rated it 4.5 stars. If you want like a historical rom-com, I recommend this one. It was super good. The only reason it wasn't 5 stars is I didn't like the ending a lot. Just the way the story wrapped up and the romance wrapped up, I was just kind of like, oh, really? Like, I feel like we could have done better. That was just kind of weird, but still a good book, and I highly, highly recommend it. On the other hand, the second book, because this is a duology, I kind of forget because the second book was not good. To Catch a Suitor by Sarah Adams. I rated this one 2.5 stars, I think. It was not nearly as good. This book could have been 5 pages. Nah, it could have been like 15 pages if the characters would have just been honest with each other and would have just talked to each other about their feelings. We didn't need this whole book. Just don't read this one. Read To Con a Gentleman, and you don't need to read this one. It's about different characters. It's not even like necessary to reading the first book. Just read To Con a Gentleman, enjoy it. Don't bother with this next book. Then in July, we read The Huntress, and The Huntress was amazing. This is my favorite series ever. I have a video coming out about my favorites of the year, 2025. This is on there, and I talk about it a lot more, so be ready for that video. This is a medieval Christian fiction book, and it nails every point. The romance, the characters, the faith content, the plot. It was just all perfect. I highly recommend this book with my whole heart and soul. I recommend the whole series. Obviously, I'm obsessed, and it was so good. I could go on a whole rant about how great it is. Just read this book, please. Right after that, I read The Huntress.
Clearly, this is not The Huntress. This is The Viking, so sorry about that.
And it was even better. It was even better. This follows different characters that we meet in the first book, and I love them so much with my whole entire heart. They're my favorite people, maybe ever. Yeah. I just love this book so much. It made me cry. The plot is even better than in the first book. It's just even better. 5 stars. So good. Please read this series. It's so amazing. Last book in July, and not as good as the last 2, obviously, was The Wonderland Trials. The Wonderland Trials. This is an Alice in Wonderland retelling. I'm not even going to try to explain the plot of this book because it didn't really make any sense. I rated it 3 stars. It was fine, like it was good, but I didn't really like this interpretation of Wonderland as much. Like, I recommend this book if you're like a huge Alice in Wonderland fan, but it just wasn't really my favorite. I just think it could have been executed a little bit better. Then in August, I read The Healer's Apprentice by Melanie Dickerson, and this is such a good book. It's a fun book, honestly. It's loosely inspired by Sleeping Beauty, and I thought it was well done in that sense. Like, that aspect of it was really well done. This is a 4-star book for me. I like the characters, I like the romance. There's a bit of a love triangle, and personally, I think it was very obvious who was the better option. So if I was the main character, there would have not even been a love triangle because I would have picked one of the guys immediately because he's clearly just a better option. Anyway, this was a really good book. It's just a fun time. It has really good faith content in it, and I highly recommend it if you're into fairy tale retellings, specifically Christian fairy tale retellings. I think this is a good option. Then I fell into the trap of popular books because I read Powerless, and I didn't like it. I rated this 2.5 stars. I have a lot of problems with this book. The main one being I don't like the characters. Peyton is annoying. Kai is kind of weird and creepy. I find him creepy. I think he's inappropriate towards other people, especially Peyton. I think he's creepy. To me, this book seemed like a combination of The Hunger Games and The Selection, which sounds like a good thing, but it's really not because it was just copying in the worst way, you know? It didn't feel very original, and the writing was good, but not good at all at the same time. And what I mean by that is there's so many beautiful quotes, but it was just overkill. Like, every single sentence felt like it was meant to be like a trending quote, you know, that you could like make an audio out of and use for a YouTube short or a TikTok or something, because it was just overkill with the quotes. Like, I have a lot of tabs because there's a lot of pretty quotes, but it was just such overkill. Like, she would be describing somebody just like waking up in the morning, and it would be this crazy, super descriptive quote that was beautiful, but it just like was so overkill and it was so annoying. So obviously I don't really recommend this book. There's also some cussing, like, and more than I'm comfortable with personally. No F words or anything, but it was just too much for me. So I don't recommend this book. Things get better though, because I read We Could Be Villains, and this is in my favorites video, so sorry my books were falling. Anyway, this is in my favorites video, so I'm gonna keep it short. Just know that this book was 5 stars, and it's basically like superheroes are real, but they make movies about them to convince the public that they're not real. They don't want the public to know, so they just, whenever there's a fight, they say that they were filming a movie. It would be like if we found out that the Avengers were real and the movies were just to cover it up. That's basically how this book is, and it's perfect. It's the perfect mix of like unserious while also being like action-packed. The characters are amazing. The main girl's motivations all made sense. Her love interest was amazing. It was just all perfect, and I highly recommend this book if you're a Marvel fan. But if you're like a girl that's a Marvel fan, I don't think guys would like this book, but if you're a Marvel fan girl, read this book, and it was amazing. It was so amazing. Then Cloaked, I rated this 2.5 stars. This is a little Red Riding Hood retelling set in the Wild West, and the stuff that's talked about on the back of the book doesn't happen to the very end, and it's basically a spoiler, so don't read the back of the book. But this whole time, it's a very short book, but it felt so long because I was just waiting for the stuff at the end to happen that was talked about on the back. And by the time we got there, I didn't even care, and it wasn't even that good. I just didn't like the plot, and I didn't like the characters, and there's not really anything good to say about this book. Which I hate saying because that just feels mean, but I don't really recommend this book, and I don't have anything nice to say, so I'm going to stop myself there. Then in September, we read The Raven. We as in me. I read The Raven by Carrie Cotton, which is the 3rd book in the Huntress series, and it was phenomenal. It was amazing. At first, I rated this 4.5 stars only because there's a plot twist that skips a very important event, and I wanted to see that, so I lowered my rating from 5 to 4.5, but in the next book, we go back and cover it, so I brought my rating back up to 5 stars, and it's just perfect. The characters, the themes that this book covers, the faith content, the plot twists were so amazing in this book. I highly recommend this series with all my heart, as I've already said, and this one was phenomenal. Right after that, I read The Valkyrie, which is a 6-star book, because it's just so much better than every other book in the entire world. It's my favorite book ever. Every aspect of this book was perfect, honestly. It was so good. It was done perfect. It's beautiful. It brought me to tears. I was so proud of this main character that it brought me to tears. Like, the stuff she went through and the way she overcomes is just so beautiful. I know I keep saying beautiful, but that's what it is. I'm just going to cut myself off here because I'm about to go off on a whole rant about how amazing this book is. Just wait for my favorites video to come out because I'll talk about it more. And yeah, just know this book is absolutely perfect in every single way. Then when I was on vacation, I read Because of Winn-Dixie, and I rated it 5 stars. It's just a cute, fun, little middle grade book. It's so sweet and cute. I love the main character. Opal, I love Winn-Dixie. That dog has a personality, and you can't tell me he doesn't, honestly. Like, I just love them all. I love all the characters. I love, like, their community. It's just a fun, cute, sweet book. Kind of sad at times, but it's just such a fun book, and I just love it, and I recommend it to you if you're a younger reader, like, maybe middle school. I don't know what middle schoolers are reading these days. Maybe even younger than that. I'm gonna say, like, 5th or 6th grade, I think is the best age to read this. But I literally recommend it to anyone because it's such a cute, fun read. And it's just a fun time. If you just want a cute, fun, light, easy read, this is a good one. It's so sweet. Then we have Lucky in Love by, oh, guess what? It's Casey West. Bet you didn't see that one coming. This one, I rated 3.5 stars. It was good, it was fun, it was cute, as I say with all of her books. The main girl, I didn't love her. She just wasn't smart. She wins the lottery, and she just wasn't smart with her money, and she was trusting the wrong people that were taking advantage of her. I felt bad for her at times. Like, I literally cried. This isn't really a spoiler, but she has a birthday party. No one comes, and I literally cried. I don't know why that affected me so much, but it did. It made me cry. That's kind of sad. I don't know what that says about me as a person, that would make me cry. But anyway, it had its cute, fun moments. Overall, it was a really great, cute read, but the main girl got on my nerves a lot with her decisions because she just wasn't smart. Then Love and Gelato. I need to go to Italy now. I just need to go. Can someone please get me a plane ticket over to Italy? I just need to go. If you couldn't tell, this book is set in Italy and it's so good. This is like a mystery romance. Like, it's equal parts mystery and romance. Well, maybe not equal parts, but those are the main things, okay? We're following a girl whose mom dies. She gets sent to Italy to live with her dad, who she's never met, and she ends up going on this adventure in Italy with this dude to discover her mom's past and, like, her parents' past. And the mystery was so interesting, honestly. I was very invested in this part. I'm not a huge fan of the romance. I'm not going to get into all of that. Read my Goodreads review if you want to hear more. I just can't explain it verbally for some reason because it just doesn't make any sense when I say it out loud. There's also some other content that I'm not a huge fan of in here. I think they go to a party or something that I was just like, no, I didn't really like that. So that's why it's a 4-star and not a 5-star. But overall, I recommend it. Just look into the content, and if you can just, like, overlook some things, or if they don't bother you, I think this is such a good read. Read it on vacation. That's what I did, and it was great. Not that I was in Italy, but it was still a great vacation read. So I definitely recommend this book if you can ignore the content stuff. Like I already said, I keep repeating myself. Then, lastly, for September, I read The Great Gatsby. I rated this 3.5 stars. I read this for school, and I reread it. Did I already say that? I don't know. This was a reread. I read it for school. When I read it for school, I hated it when I was reading it, but then I remembered it fondly. So I reread it to see if I actually like it. And while I was reading it, I was kind of like, oh, this isn't actually that good. Like, I don't really like these characters, but I have nothing but fond memories for it. So it's 3.5 stars. It feels like a 4-star, but I just lowered it because when I was actually reading it, I was like, this isn't the great experience that I remember it being. If you're into classics, because this is a classic, right? If you're into classics, I recommend this book. And even if you're not, it's very short. Ignore the characters' terrible morals. Honestly, all the characters are kind of insufferable, but they were interesting to read about. This is just an interesting book, and it's entertaining, you know? It's entertaining. It was fun hearing about their rich people drama, honestly. They're rich people in the 1920s. Their drama, it was fun, okay? Then in October, I reread Once Upon a Broken Heart. It's over in that stack somewhere. I'm not gonna get it. That is because when I listened to the audiobooks, I didn't really remember them that well. And I wanted to be able to give full content reviews on Goodreads and Fable for these books. And in order to do that, I read the physical copy, so I actually knew what I was talking about. The thoughts that I already expressed about this book earlier in the video are the product of this reread, okay? Just know that. I'm just putting that in there because I counted it for my reading goal twice because I read it twice. Also, somewhere earlier in the year, I re-listened to the audiobook for Once Upon a Broken Heart, but I don't know when in the year that was. So I'm just telling you about it now. Sometime between first reading it and rereading Once Upon a Broken Heart, I re-listened to the audiobook just because I was bored. I don't know if that made any sense, but we're just gonna move on to Better Off Friends. I rated this 2.5 stars. No, it was just 2 stars. This was a reread. I read it like sometime before, some year in the past, and I rated it 5 stars then. This time it was 2 stars because it was just like drama for no reason. These kids are young, like it starts when they're 12 and goes to when they're 17. I think this was unnecessary drama in their lives. I think it was just like, y'all are too young for this. You don't need to be worried about if your boyfriend is cheating on you or not, or maybe it was girlfriend, something, I don't even remember. It was just like, y'all are just kids. Y'all are too young for this, in my opinion. And it just made it not enjoyable. It still had its cute moments. They have a cute friendship. Honestly, I like their friendship. I think they were better off friends. Honestly, I like their friendship. I don't think they need a romance. they just had a fun friendship. Anyway, yeah, I don't really recommend this book just because it was a lot of like useless drama for no reason. And I'm not saying I'm above reading about drama, okay? I've said it in the past, maybe even just a few minutes ago, about The Great Gatsby. I like drama in books, okay? Sue me. But this was too much drama, okay? Yeah, I'm just gonna stop myself there before I start ranting. I just don't recommend this book. Then lastly, in October, we have The Grandest Game. This is a spin-off series for the Inheritance games. And I rated this one 3.5 stars. I enjoyed it, though the characters felt drier than they did in the original series. That's one of the parts I remember of the original series, was the characters. And they just felt drier. Like the ones that were brought back as side characters for this series, they just felt like drier versions of themselves, like watered down versions of themselves, and I didn't really love that. Also, the game, it didn't feel as like masterfully done as the one in the original trilogy, which I guess is kind of the point because it's not designed by the same people, but it just wasn't as fun to read about. And I didn't like the new characters that were introduced. I just don't like any of them. They were dry and boring, or they were just not likable. Those are my main complaints, but it was still a fun read. It was very fast-paced. I didn't want to put it down, and I was very excited to see like where these games would go. I'm excited to read the second book. I recommend this book if you're like a huge fan of the Inheritance games. If you're not, if you like didn't like the Inheritance games, probably don't bother with this book. Then in November, the first book was The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. I didn't like this book. I rated it 2 stars, I think. Watch my November reading wrap up if you want to hear a lot more about this book. Basically, the reason I didn't like it and that I don't recommend it is the characters were so immature. They did not act like adults. They are adults. I think they're maybe in their 30s or something, or late 20s maybe. I don't really know, but I know they were full-grown adults, and they acted like they were 14 or 13 or something. Like, it was crazy. I forgot they were adults, and then they would remind me, and I would be like, right. Okay, great. I completely forgot that y'all are acting like children. Also, they made everything gross. Yeah, it was just, there were so many comments that didn't need to be said. Everything was just, they would take every situation and make it like, ugh. I didn't want to hear that. I didn't want it. Why did we have to say that? And it happened a lot. You know, it was a consistent thing, and it really lowered down my rating. Had its fun moments. They had a fun friendship, I guess, but like there's not a whole lot of good things to say about this book. I don't recommend this book. If you want to read Sarah Adams, read Decon Gentleman, and that's it. That's the only one of her books that I've read that I recommend. Then The Huntress of Thornbeck Forest by Melanie Dickerson. This is a Robin Hood retelling where the girl is Robin Hood, and I rated it 3.5 stars. It's slower, and the characters aren't like, they don't stand out a whole lot, but they were still likable. It has a good plot. Like I said, slower, but the second half, it really picks up, in my opinion. And it was a fun read. I recommend if you're like a Robin Hood retelling fan, if you're a fairy tale retelling fan. It was just a fun time. Then I read Stars Above by Marissa Meyer. This is a collection of short stories for the Lunar Chronicles. You don't have to read this at all. This is really just like bonus content if you're a huge fan of the Lunar Chronicles. I rated this one 3.5 stars. It was fun. I loved being back in the world of the Lunar Chronicles. It really made me want to reread it. The reason it's not rated higher is because some of the short stories, while all of them are technically unnecessary, a lot of them just felt super unnecessary. Not a lot of them, sorry, I didn't mean to say a lot of them. A few of them felt super unnecessary and kind of boring, just kind of random. You know, like some of them were just not needed. But other ones were super great, like The Princess and the Guard and Something Old and Something New. Those two were my favorites. I loved those so much. So if you're a huge fan of the Lunar Chronicles, like I am, I consider myself a huge fan, I recommend this short story collection. If you're not, I guess don't really read it because you probably won't like it, but I liked it. It was fun. Then I read A Cloak, a Book, and a Dagger. I got an advanced reader copy of this book, and It was so good. Honestly, it was just so good. This is a romantasy, though I don't remember there being any magic in this. This is a romantasy. It's very clean. It has some heavier topics, okay? I have a review for it, if you want to know more about those. But the plot was so good, honestly. It felt like a whole series of books in one, in the sense that there was so much action, while also flying by so fast. Like, I read this book so quickly because I was just on the edge of my seat to see what happened, and I loved it so much. The main guy, he was kind of annoying at times. Like, he just needed to be a man. Sometimes he just needed to just man up, you know, like, he got on my nerves more than once because our main girl would just need to take care of him a lot, and that was kind of annoying. That's just my main thing that I didn't really like. I talk about this more in my favorites video coming up, so be on the lookout for that. Just know that this book was 4.5 stars, and I highly recommend it if you're a romantasy fan, and just in general, because it was really great. And I'm gonna get through these next two quickly, hopefully. We have The Wedding Bluff. I rated this 1.5 stars. This is a fake dating book, and honestly, it was ridiculous. Their reasons for fake dating I thought were terrible reasons, and I didn't like the characters, I didn't like the plot. It wasn't good. Don't recommend. Then The Last Plus One. This book wasn't really that good either. It's 2.5 stars. I think it's a good concept, but it was very, very short. It was like 30 pages, and there's just not enough time to get attached to the characters. And I think it could have been longer if we would have just got the characters' backstories. You know, if we would have covered their backstories and then got to this part of their story, it would have been a lot better, but it wasn't because that didn't happen. So 2.5 stars, nothing technically wrong with it, but not super good, and I don't really recommend it. Then in December, I reread The Ballad of Never After for my content reviews. Nothing to say that I haven't already said. Then for school, I read The Devil and Tom Walker. 3 stars, I guess. It was interesting, but nothing in it was like super revolutionary, and I mean, I didn't really like it. My life has not changed in the least, and I didn't really learn anything from it. So 3 stars, I guess, but like, I don't recommend it. Also for school, I had to read The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, and I know nothing about poetry. That's not my thing. I don't care about poetry, but I rated it 5 stars because it gave me flashbacks to Sunrise on the Reaping. So yeah, I rated this highly because I like Sunrise on the Reaping. I have nothing to say about it because I know nothing about poetry, and I won't do it justice. My apologies to the poetry-loving community. Then I read Fairy Tales for the Ultimate. Here it is on the screen. I don't know how to say that word. I don't remember what it is. But basically, this is a very, very short ebook that I read. It was 25 pages, and it's a collection of, like, basically a summarization of a bunch of different fairy tales. It's for if you want to just see if fairy tales might be your thing. I rated it 4 stars, I believe. Yeah, I recommend this one if you want to see if fairy tales are your thing or just want to know the general story of fairy tales. Also, I looked up the word that I can't say, and it basically means, like, unexperienced. So if you never had any experience with fairy tales is what this is going for. Okay, so different outfit and different hair because it's the next day. My phone died while I was in the middle of talking to you guys, and it was really late at night, so I just went to sleep instead of waiting for my phone to charge. So that was too bad, but I'm back now, and I'm going to tell you about the last 3 books I read in December. So the next book on this list is The Huntress, but the audiobook version. I got an advanced listener copy of this book before it came out, and it was so good. This is actually like a revised version of the physical copy. Like, there are a few changes. I think the changes are coming out in physical form and not just in the audiobook, but I could be wrong. But this is a revised version, and I was kind of hesitant about if I would like the changes or not, because I was like, this book is basically perfect, so like, we don't really need to change anything. And while the storyline is exactly the same, there's just like a few things that were added to people's interactions and like some details that were just tweaked a little bit, but the overall story is the same. And I loved those things that were added. Honestly, it really like added a lot to the 2 main characters' relationship. It just felt so much deeper, and it made it even more beautiful, and it just added so much to the story and my enjoyment. Like, it was such a fun experience, and I highly recommend this audiobook. The production quality of this audiobook was also super good. It had like sound effects in it at some parts, and I didn't even know that people did that with audiobooks, but they did for this one, and it was really good. And the narrators, their accents and their voices were just perfect for these characters. Like, they fit them so well, and they did such a good job bringing these characters to life. So it was just really amazing, and I highly recommend this audiobook. Even if you read the physical copy of The Huntress, I think you should listen to the audiobook too, because it really just adds a lot to the story. Then we have The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I rated this book 4 stars. It was such a good experience. Honestly, I've never read anything quite like this book. This isn't a genre I usually read a lot, maybe ever, I don't really know, but it was so entertaining. The mystery was so well done, such a super interesting premise. I will say, probably look up the content of this book, because it's not for everyone, you know. There's some things that I like disagreed with as like a Christian, but then also some things that was just like, if you're like super, what's the word for it, squeamish or something, maybe don't read this book. I'm a huge wimp, honestly. Like, I get scared easily, but this wasn't too much for me, so I don't know, just look into this book and decide if it seems like something that you'd be okay with reading, and if it sounds like it is something you'd be okay with, I highly recommend it. It was just really well done and very interesting and fast-paced, and I read it pretty quickly. It was just a fun experience. Then the final book I read in 2025 is Killer Instinct by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the second book in the Naturals series. I think this one's even better than the first. I rated this one 4.75 stars, which is a weird rating. I don't like rating books, stuff like that, but it was so close to being a 5-star, but I lowered it a little bit because of content that I don't agree with. You know, it was 5-star enjoyment for me, but had some things that I was just kind of like, I don't like that, but still really good. I think this one's less violent than the first one. Neither of them feel overly violent or anything, but I think this one's less violent, so that was nice. I think the mystery was even better in this one, like the case or whatever that we're figuring out in this one is even better than the last one. As with the last book, I recommend looking at the like content warnings and stuff for this book, but if it seems like something that you'd be okay with and seems like something that's up your alley, I recommend it. I thought it was really good. Disclaimer, I have already read the 3rd book in January, but I'm not going to talk about that yet. I just don't know if I recommend this series because I don't know if it like takes a turn that I really hate or something. Okay, that is all of the books I read in 2025. I have content reviews for some of these books on Goodreads and Fable. I was not on Goodreads all of this year. I think it was maybe half the year or something. And Fable I was on for even less time. So I don't have reviews for all of them, but I'll put all of the books that I have content reviews for on the screen if you want to see like content warnings, things to be aware of before reading these books, and just more detailed thoughts that I have about these books. Overall, this was a pretty good reading year. I read a lot of really good books that I'm so obsessed with. I read some other books that I was definitely not crazy about, but overall it was still a good year. In 2026, now that I know my reading taste, I think better than I did in 2025, I'm gonna try to read books that I'm gonna be pretty positive that I like, you know? So what I'm trying to say is 2025 was a pretty good reading year, but I think 2026 is gonna be even better. So stay tuned to see all of the books I get into in 2026, and let me know if you have any book recommendations for me or any videos that you want to see from me. Okay, that is all that I have for you guys today. Bye!